They say if you whistle at night, you are not calling a tune, you are calling something else. In the village of Anene, every child grew up with this warning. The elders told them stories of hunters who whistled at night and never came back. Sometimes, the next morning, their footprints stopped on the forest path, as if swallowed by the air itself. Other times, only their belongings were found at the village gate. Bags, shoes, even weapons, but never their bodies. When the children asked what happened, the elders would lower their voices and say the whistler took them. The children would laugh nervously, but deep down they knew better, because in Anene, when the sun sets, even the birds fell silent. Obina was not like others. He was strong, bold, and full of pride. He had no patience for old stories. When the elders spoke of the night whistler, he smirked. If such a spirit exists, let it face me. I am no child to tremble at ghost stories. Even his mother warned him, "My son, there are things stronger than your courage. Do not mock what you don't understand." But Obina only laughed. He had hunted lions and faced storms alone. What spirit would frighten him? One fateful evening, Obina stayed late in the forest. The moon was high, the path back long and lonely. He carried his lantern and his hunting bag, but the night pressed down on him like a weight. To keep himself company, he began to whistle a lively tune. The sound echoed strangely between the trees. For a moment, it comforted him, but then the air shifted. The crickets fell silent, the wind stopped, and from the darkness came another whistle. Not an echo, not his own, but an answer. At first, Obina chuckled. Perhaps another hunter, he thought. But when he whistled again, the reply came instantly, mimicking his tune, but twisting it, bending it into something unclean. His laughter died, his palms grew damp. Yet his pride forced him to continue. He whistled twice, and from the trees came two notes in return, slower, darker, closer. They say the whistler was once a man, a wandering spirit, who died in the forest with no burial, no name remembered. His soul grew bitter, his voice turned hollow, and so he became the wind at night. When he hears a whistle, he believes someone is calling him, and he always answers. But once he finds you, it does not leave empty-handed. It takes your breath, your voice, and finally, your soul. Obina quickened his pace. The path home stretched longer than ever. Behind him, he heard footsteps, but when he turned, nothing was there. The whistle grew louder, circling him. It came from the left, then the right, then ahead. He ran. Branches snapped under his feet. The lantern shook vividly, but the whistle ran with him, mocking, chasing, never tiring. Breathless, Obina ducked behind a large iroko tree, pressing his back against the back. He dared not breathe. His chest burned with silence. The forest was deadly still for a moment. He thought he had escaped. Then, a whistle pierced the air, right beside his ear, slow, cold, endless. Obina's knees buckled. He stumbled forward, dropping his lantern. The flame sputtered and died. In the pale moonlight, he saw it, a figure, tall, crooked, with no face, only a hollow, gaping mouth, stretched into an eternal grin. From the mouth came his own whistle, distorted and cruel. The whistler leaned closer. The air grew cold, heavy, impossible to breathe. Winner tried to scream, but no sound left his throat. His voice was gone. The next morning, the villagers found Obina's hunting bag lying at the village gate. His footprints ended on the forest path. For weeks, the villagers whispered that Obina had been taken forever. Mothers warned their children. Hunters no longer dared to enter the forest after dark. Yet, one moonless night, long after his disappearance, Obina returned. He staggered into the village, barefoot, his clothes torn, his eyes hollow. His body was the same, but his face was not. It carried the weight of something no man should see. The people gasped. Some rejoiced, others trembled. For for he looked less like a man who had survived and more like a man who had been sent back. When they pressed him for answers, Obina spoke slowly. His voice cracked and broken. I saw what no eye should see. I walked where the living do not belong. I whistled and it answered, but I refused to be its song. He told them that deep in the forest, he faced the whistler, that the spirit circled him, stealing his breath, his courage, his very voice. But in his final moment, Obina bit his tongue until blood filled his mouth, and with that last gurgled sound, not a whistle, but a cry of defiance, he broke free. The villagers listened in silence. No one moved, no one dared to speak, for in his eyes burned the memory of something not human, something that had marked him forever. They asked Obina, "How did you escape?" He lowered his eyes, his voice trembling. I remembered the elders once said, "Spirits do not like silence. They feed on sound, on the breath of the living." So when the whisper drew closer, expecting my tune, I gave him nothing. He pressed his lips shut. He slowed his breath until even the leaves could not hear him. The whistler circled him in fury, echoing his whistle again and again, but with no reply. It faltered, searching, spinning, confused by the silence. And in that moment of hesitation, Obina crawled into the roots of an iroko tree, where the spirit voice could not reach. When dawn broke, the forest spat him out onto the village path. But his voice was never the same again. Its words carried the hollow echo of a thing he had faced. And though he lived, every villager who heard him knew Obina had not truly escaped. He had only been released. But though Obina told the tale of how he had smarted the whistler, the villagers noticed something strange. His shadow no longer moved with him. At sunset, when the fires burned and the villagers gathered, Obina's shadow lagged behind, bending in ways no human form should. At night, when the wind was still, some swore they heard faint whistling leaking from his lips. Even when he was asleep, the children avoided him. Dogs growled when he passed. His own mother wept, saying, "This is not the son I gave birth to. This is the one the forest returned." Obina himself began to change. His eyes were always restless, darting towards the trees. His voice, though broken, sometimes carries a second tone beneath it, an echo that did not belong to him. The elders whispered among themselves, "He has been marked. He carries the whistler's breath inside him. He may have escaped the forest, but the forest has not escaped him." From that day onward, Obina lived in silence, never whistling again, but the villagers knew the mark was still there, waiting. And on nights when the moon was full, they claimed you could hear not one whistle in the forest, but two. From that day onward, Obina never whistled again, never mocked the elders, and never doubted the tale. And whenever children laughed at the warning, Obina would rise, place a trembled finger to his lips, and whisper, "Do not call him, for I called him once and he came." The village believed him because Obina had returned, but not as the man who left. He returned as the man who saw the whistler and lived to tell it. From that day, no one dared to whistle after sunset, because the people of Anene knew the whistler was listening. Even now, generations later, people still whisper the warning. Some say the whistler is no longer bound to the forest, that as people moved into towns and cities, he followed them, drawn to anyone foolish enough to whistle at night. Stories spread of night travelers hearing a whistle answer back, of children disappearing after playful tunes, of voices that never returned. And some claim if you stay very still, very quiet, you can hear him, not far, not near, but waiting. So tonight, when the urge comes to whistle in the dark, remember Obina's fate, because the whistler always answers, and once he finds you, he never lets you go. This is just the beginning. Welcome to the Forbidden Folktales.